What's up, party people? Okay, full disclosure, I'm having one of those days where it's just hard to get out of bed. But shout out to my friend Gabby, whose channel you should check out. She's epic and amazing and so intelligent and so funny and quirky. I knew I needed to film this video today, and the brain fog is fogging today. I'm not in a bad mood. I'm just tired. I'm just really tired. But then I logged on to YouTube and I found Gabby's newest video talking about what books she's going to be reading in December. And it brought me back to life and it made me really excited to get up and talk about books. So thank you, Gabby. So, off to the races. Let's do this. This video has a little bit of randomness to it because that is my brain. Welcome. I'm going to talk about everything that I read in November, but to touch back on A Man Called Ove, which I've been saying wrong, it's A Man Called Uva. I'm so sorry. Anyways, I had talked about how much I love that book. That was my book of the month last month. And I was saying I didn't think I was going to watch the American, all of the Hanks family in one movie version of the book, but I did want to watch the Swedish film adaptation of the book, and it was stellar. It was exactly how I pictured things in my head, which was amazing because I had things a very specific way in my head. They were very different from the American version, but they lined up so perfectly with the Swedish version. And I have to say this, the chemistry between Uva and his wife in the Swedish film, it has been a long time since I saw on-screen chemistry between two actors the way that they had it. It was so cool to watch, and that film was just epic. Absolutely epic. You should all watch it. I feel like I rented it on YouTube. You should definitely watch it. It's I have no words. You just have to see for yourself. So I'm proud of myself for this last month because it was the biggest reading slump I've ever been in. I was just still really bummed after losing my dog. And also, my IUD is trying to kill me. So that's been difficult. It's just been really hard to just have the motivation to read, even though I know I want to. Just like actually getting yourself to do the things you want when you're not in a good place mentally, just it doesn't happen sometimes. So I'm proud of myself for pushing through. I started some books that I was really intimidated by and didn't know if I would ever even approach. So I feel like I'm doing good, even though my number of books is lower. And I also learned a lot about my reading habits and what works for me when things are not smooth sailing in my life. Like, I did a lot more audiobooks this month, and that really saved me. And yeah, I'm really happy about that discovery. I'm also switching the sites and apps that I'm using for reading, which I will talk about. So yeah, it was a learning month for sure. But let me get into the first books. I'm also going to tell you about the ones that I tried and decided I don't want to read. So I'm going to start with the DNFs. Oh, I thought I had all my books and I do not. Here we are. Well of Ascension. This is not a DNF. This is just so I love making my monthly TBRs. It gets me pumped. It gets me really excited. It helps me hone in on new things that I want to explore in the world of literature, and I love it. But I'm also a mood reader, and I also have really bad ADD, and sometimes it's just not the right time and place for a book that I thought was a good book for that time. So, example A, Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 2 in the Mistborn series, and I loved Mistborn. It was a 5-star read for me, and I cannot wait to see what happens in Well of Ascension. But it kind of came down to towards the end of the month, I had a couple of big intimidating books left, and which one was I going to pick? This just got beat out by, shockingly, A Little Life by that much. So it's just back over here for, next month or the month after that. I'm still really excited to read it. It just didn't happen this month because I was really ambitious with my list last month, and I had several 800-page books in there and some really heavy books. So I just, sometimes you shoot too high, and that's better than shooting too low. And it just was not the right thing at the right time. Still can't wait to read it, though. I was surprised at myself that I didn't get myself to read this one, The Death of Ivan Ilyich by Leo Tolstoy. It's so short. It's like 100 pages, and honestly, this is kind of, I probably should appreciate it, but it just annoyed me. The first 30 pages are an introduction where they talk about the book and the writing of the book. I'm like, I don't want to read that before I even read the book, because you're going to spoil everything and you're going to influence my opinions. I hate long intros where they explain the thought process of the book before you even read the book. Like, it drives me nuts. I appreciate that it's there. I want it at the end. I read a few pages and I was like, you know what? This was one where I was trying to push myself, because so far I do not like classic literature at all, and I keep trying. And I firmly believe that there is a book from every genre that people can find that they like. And I would like to find a classic that I really like. And this is highly recommended as a good place to start with Tolstoy. And there's just some names that you hear for so long in your life that you're like, I just want to see if I like it, because I've just heard people talk about this author for so many years, so many decades. So I will eventually probably go back to this. But as I started reading it, it was towards the end of the month when I wasn't feeling great mentally, and I was just like, yeah, this is not, I need something to transport me completely right now. I need something more like light and whimsical, or at least more relatable. So this just wrong place, wrong time. The next one, I'm actually really bummed that I DNF'd it. I mean, like, I stand by it, but I wanted to like this one because my brother sent it to me, and it's the only book he's ever sent me, and he sent it to me because he knows that I absolutely adore Keanu Reeves. It's The Book of Elsewhere, which was co-written by Keanu Reeves and this man whose name I don't want to butcher. This is supposed to be a bit of a genre bender, and what it came down to is I did not like the writing style. I really didn't like the writing style. So then I went and I read What's on the Flap again, and it was saying that it's heavily influenced by comics, and I can see that. And that's just not a style of writing that appeals to me greatly. It was just like, it was weird. It was kind of like bouncing all over the place right from the get-go, and I don't know. It just felt off. I don't even know how to put it into words, and usually I can figure out a way to describe how I feel about something, even if it's like a really weird and roundabout way, but this one I can't quite put into words, but it just was not sitting well with me. I was not enjoying the process of reading it to the point where, am I curious about the story? Yes. Is the writing style worth it to me to figure out the story? No. And it bums me out. I love Keanu so much. But yeah, it's a DNF for me. Another one that got, I think the last one. I think this is the last one that got postponed. Definitely postponed. I'm really excited to read this book, but it is We Were 8 Years in Power by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and it's about the 8 years that Obama was in office and sort of the backlash that came afterwards. I thought this would be great to read around election time. However, I live in a very divided state, and so I had a lot of friends that were really emotional and really stressed after the election, and I was trying to be there for them and listen to them and kind of absorb what they were feeling, and that was enough. That was enough to take on mentally for me regarding politics, and therefore this was actually just too close to home at that time, and I decided, you know what, nope, actually I think that this would be better read a little bit separated down the road a couple months. This is an author I'm really, really, really excited to get into because he is so highly respected and his works are just held in such high regard by so many people. I am excited to read this. It is just not, it's not for now. That's all. Things did not just get taken out. Things got added in. And this next one is also thanks to Gabby. I was still having insomnia, and I think I had told her that I was DNFing something. And I had talked to her about my irritation with people comparing my favorite book, Red Rising, by Pierce Brown, to The Hunger Games. Like, that comparison irks me to no end. I don't understand how people think that. But we had talks about this. She hasn't read Red Rising, but she's read Hunger Games, and me vice versa. So we're kind of like, we should read both of them. Like, we should have read both of them, mainly me. I was like, yeah, you know what? If I'm gonna talk smack about that comparison, I have seen the movies, but I should read the book, because while people have said the book and the movie do align pretty well, I think the main thing I heard before reading it for myself was that it changes a lot hearing Katniss's internal dialogue, and they were right. Okay, they were right. So I used this as my insomnia audiobook for the month, and it was perfect for that. So wait, let me back up. I tend to just like dive into what I thought about a book before telling you basic information, because ADD. This audiobook is about 10 and a half hours. It was written by Suzanne Collins, and the narrator is Tatiana Maslany, who, if you watch Black Orphan, she's in a lot of things. Black Orphan is the first place that I ever saw her as an actress, and she's phenomenal. She's such a talented actress, and she has a really good voice for this book. Like, this was a very good call. She has a very good voice to be speaking as Katniss, and I really enjoyed listening to her. I think she did an excellent job. This honestly is a perfectly written book for a simple audiobook that you can listen to when you're tired but still has you fully entranced. Okay, so yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts on this book specifically as an audiobook. Did I enjoy it? Yes, I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm gonna do a video on this book versus Red Rising because I don't think they're similar at all. I think they're worlds apart, and I think it's bananas that people are comparing them. That aside, it was very interesting listening to this after watching the movies, and it's always interesting to me listening to an audiobook where the movie is already such a big hit. People already have a very preconceived notion of how the characters talk and how they look. It's just a different experience. And it was interesting. Some of the characters I thought were really, really flat in the book, and they were only interesting in the movies because they had iconic people acting them out who really picked a direction and leaned into it. Like, this makes me appreciate the direction of the movie quite a lot, because I think there are characters that would have been extremely boring had it not been for what the actors did for those characters. So that was very interesting. I was focusing on that a lot as I was listening to the audiobook. I actually have so much in common with Katniss. It's a little, and like, not the good things, just like the stubbornness and the defensiveness. And so I actually had fun with that, because when I watched the movie, I didn't particularly relate to her. Like, I saw qualities that I have in her, but listening to her internal dialogue, like, actually, she is probably in top 5 characters that I can think of who are most similar to how I am in my mind. Not necessarily how I present, but like my true self alone. Yes, I am a lot like Katniss. So that was very interesting for me, and I do like her so much more in the books. I like her so much more in the books that I think I will probably listen to all of the audiobooks, which is shocking for me. Yeah, and she's such an idiot sometimes, is the thing. She's such an idiot sometimes. Which is where I'm just like, yep, okay. I see. It made this a lot more entertaining, because it's a very straightforward story. Like, it's a very dramatic story, but the way it's written, it's pretty much just her talking the whole time. It's just her thoughts, and there's not a lot woven into it, really. It's very simple to follow, which I like in an audiobook, and especially one that I'm going to be listening to when I can't sleep, because there's only so much I can take in at 3 a.m. But that's why it's good that the story is so dramatic, because it balances it out. Oh, I guess I don't know if I think the book is better or the movie is better. I think it's kind of a wash, because like I said, Katniss is better in the book, but the other characters are better in the movies. And then, of course, there is the cinematography and the costume design and the set design that was epic in the movies, but Katniss is far superior in the books, in my opinion. So, video to come on how not similar Red Rising by Pierce Brown and Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins are, but it was good. It was a really fun book. I appreciate it a lot more, and you know, I'm never gonna be like a diehard fan. I was never that into the movies, but I can say like I'm a fan. I'm a fan. It's a good book. It's a fun book. It's an interesting book. So a very unexpected audiobook that I just finished this morning is Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. I don't understand how I haven't heard more people talk about this book. This was 5 stars for me. I loved everything about it. I am obsessed with people who are just going for it and they're just doing what they want to do and they're not trying to fit any certain mold. Like, they're just trying to live their life to the max. And he's definitely one of those people. He's also one of the most entertaining storytellers to ever walk this planet. And I listened to the audiobook, which I highly recommend, but I did order the physical copy because I need to highlight. Like, this thing is going to become a little bit of a Bible for me. And it's only 6.5 hours, right? Almost 7 hours. There's so much wisdom packed into this. There's also just so much ridiculous nonsense, and he makes fun of himself. He shares what he's learned. He's shared his mindset, his approach to life. It's phenomenal. I wish that more people would write books like this where they just spill their guts and they're not trying to push anything on anybody. They're not self-righteous, but they're, you know, like, he's a very confident person and he wants to be that way. It's very intentional. And he's also very humble, though. Like, he makes fun of himself in this book and talks about his failures and how they shaped him. It's just everything you would want from a good memoir. It's the highs, it's the lows, but overall, it's the learning process and the approach to things. People don't talk about those parts enough. They kind of just talk about the events a lot and how it made them feel, but not like, okay, what did that make you change? What did that make you do differently? You know, how has your approach changed throughout the decades? What were the different phases of your life? What were the different priorities at different times and why? It's just a different way of breaking things down, and it works for my brain perfectly. His book and my brain are a perfect match. So this was 5 stars. I can't recommend it enough. It's so fun to listen to. It's so fun to listen to. Before I forget about this one, because I keep forgetting about this one, I'm sorry, I listened to the Dallergut Dream Department Store by Miye, and it was kind of just there for me. This is one where I highly suspected that the book would not live up to the plot, and I feel like that's accurate. I gave this 3 stars, which is a low rating for me because honestly, if it's much below that, I just won't finish something. So like 2.5, 3 tends to be like the lowest that I can rate books that I actually finish. There were parts that I enjoyed. But for most of it, I kind of was just confused at what the point was, at where it was going. Like, I didn't understand the purpose of it a lot of the time. I felt like there were a lot of details left out that had me just confused about everything, and I was trying to just ignore what I didn't know and focus on what I did, but the specific things that were left out, it just made it very hard for me. There are people that absolutely love that book, and I think this was a really good idea. It just was not executed in a way that worked for me. Okay, on to the rest of the physical books, which are all good. Yeah, they're all good. Okay, so this is a book that I've had on my shelf since I first started just buying random books in an attempt to figure out my taste like a year ago. And this is a YA fantasy. It's the first of, I believe, a trilogy. It's The Gilded Wolves by Roshana Chokshi, and this was very fun. It's like a fantasy heist, found family. Is it more than magical realism? I don't really know where the line is between magical realism and straight up like fantasy. You know, the world is pretty realistic. It's just that some of them have the ability to change physical objects or change how people are perceiving the physical world, if that makes any sense. It's about a group of friends who are, you know, of course, all pulled together for their own reasons, and they are trying to help one of their friends regain his place as the leader of his house, in society. And yeah, they all have their own reasons for helping him, whether it's just because they're friends with him or because they have their own purpose that will be served by him coming into power. There's a bit of romance in here. There is representation for autistic folks in here, Zofia, and she's actually my favorite character. She's brilliant. I enjoyed reading her scenes so much. It's a really diverse friend group, which I appreciate massively. I think the character building was really, really good, especially for a book that is only, it's like 370 pages. And I think that the author packed a lot of layers into the characters for having 4 or 5 of them. Basically, it's a group of friends who are trying to break into places to steal these magical objects that are heavily, heavily guarded by magic in an effort to reinstate their friend as the leader, the head of his house. That title was wrongfully stripped from him long ago, and he's just trying to get that back. Magic, heists, romance, friendship, neurodivergence, secret societies, underground lairs, magical mirrors, plants that can be like, there's this guy who can manipulate the matter of plants into these really crazy, over-the-top displays, and he can also make them functional in a magical way. It's really fun. It's a very easy read. You do get invested in the characters' stories. You will have a favorite character. It might not be Sophia because they're all good, but yeah, this is great. I would read the rest of this series. I plan on it. I think I'm gonna periodically read the next sequels to kind of lighten up my monthly book load. Next up is Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I think most of us have at least seen the cover of this book or heard one person talk about it because it has been taking the book industry by storm. I think there are a lot of people who are not even big readers who read this book. This is the memoirs of Michelle Zauner, who is the lead singer of the band Japanese Breakfast, and it's about her losing her mom, who she was very, very close with, and it is just a brutally honest look at how she got through that, what was going through her mind, how it affected her relationship with her dad, the different ways that her relationship with her mom changed throughout a fairly slow process of losing her, how it affected her psyche. So many layers, and I read this a little bit after my friend Gabby read it. We both have health issues in our family, like a lot of people these days, and I went through a big scare with my mom this last year, and so I wanted to read this to, I don't know, force myself to process things a little bit and also just see how somebody else dealt with, I mean, my mom fortunately did not pass, so it's not like I can relate to this book on that level, but I thought she was going to, and I was preparing myself for it. So it's a very healing, or at least comforting thing to read if you've been through anything like that, because to me, it helps me to find so many things in there that just seem like the most toxic, just awful, bleak thoughts ever. And then to see somebody else write that they thought the exact same thing, it just makes you feel less alone in what you've gone through, and it makes you realize how much we all have in common at our core, no matter where we come from, no matter what we've been taught. Like, there are some things that are just at the core of humanity that make the world feel smaller in a nice way, and that's what this book did for me. I applaud her for being so extremely, extremely vulnerable on the page. I don't think I could ever write anything so vulnerable as this memoir, and I think she's extremely brave for that, and I thank her for that, because I'm sure that this book has done the same thing or something similar for a lot of people out there. It's everything that everybody says it is. It's so well tied together with the food aspect of cooking her mom's food, and that aspect, the food, didn't tie in the way that I thought it would. It was so much more, it was so much better than what I had in my head. So It was wonderful. Okay, so my prompt that I pulled out from my little book prompt bag for the month was a 5-star prediction. Yes, it was a 5-star prediction. So I picked The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, and it was 5 stars. It was 5 stars, and this is a thriller. It is about 300 pages, and it is about a woman who, she's an artist, she's a very famous artist, and she loves her husband a lot, and then one day she is found with a gun in her hand, and she's shot her husband 5 times in the face and stopped speaking. She doesn't speak for years, and then there is this man who is, he's a psychologist, and he has been fascinated with her story for a long time. The whole public is fascinated with her story, not really because she shot her husband 5 times in the face, but because she has not spoken a word since then. So she's in an institution, and he goes and becomes her therapist and is determined to be the one to get her to speak. And you slowly find out what has happened. It is so hard for me to find thrillers where I am super lost the whole time and have no idea what the twist is going to be, no idea what the ending is going to be, and I did not see it coming in this book. And it read so fast, and I was so interested in everybody in it, and I was trying so hard to figure it out. I always try so hard, and if you don't let me figure it out, I love you as an author. And that's exactly what happened. Very easy to follow, but very complex, and it has a unique approach in that it incorporates mythology and art, and ooh-wee. This is a good one. This is super fun. Super, super, super fun. Okay, I am going to try to make this section short because it will have its own video, but you know me, it's going to be very difficult to do that. I started A Little Life, guys. I did it. I can't believe I did it. I am halfway through now, and I've been reading my butt off. Like, this book just moves, not that the plot moves slowly like it does, but I can read forever, and I will not have gotten very far. I don't know, like, the print is small, that's probably part of it, but I don't really know why it's taking me so long to read it, aside from the fact that it's 800 pages with small print. It feels like it should at least be going a little bit faster, but I'm halfway there. I'm really proud that I'm halfway there because I was so scared of this book. Did not think I could tackle it. I'm dying to watch other people's videos about the book. I'm dying to read articles about the book. I'm dying to watch interviews with Hanya Yanagihara, who is the author, because this is such a controversial book, and I think that's probably the reason I was able to get myself to pick it up, because when a book is that controversial, I want to know what side I'm on. I'm completely undecided at this point because I have extremely mixed feelings. I am feeling so many things. I am at least gonna have to give props to this book for making me think so much and have to work so hard to try to form an opinion on whether I like it or not. There are things that I absolutely love, and there are things that I absolutely hate. I can't stop reading it because I have to see where it goes, and I have to know what I think of it as a whole. Technically, what everybody says is that it's about a group of 4 male friends living in New York. So far, that's not entirely accurate. There's a heavy focus on some of the characters, and then there are some characters that I literally don't know why they're in the book at all. Maybe that'll change, but like, come on, I've read over 400 pages, and there are characters that I'm just like, why are you here? You're not really here. Why do you exist in this book? The main focus is 3. I will say 3 of the 4. It's mostly about Jude. Then it talks about Willem and JB some, but Malcolm, like, I don't know. What's the point of Malcolm? But let me stop. This is gonna be the longest video ever when I actually just talk about the book overall. It's making me feel things, okay? To her credit, it is making me feel things. I have been highlighting a lot. Parts are highlighted because I love it, and it was the first time I had heard or seen anybody express complex and potentially very divisive thoughts that are in my head. I was shocked. to see them and grateful to see them, because it's just, you know, whenever you think you have a really ugly thought or a really unfair thought or just a really pessimistic, dark thought, it is so helpful to know that somebody else has had that same thought, which, like, in theory, you know, because, like, we're not that special, guys. Like, there are billions of us. Like, somebody else has thought the things that we've thought. But when you actually run into it, it's just very comforting, for me at least. Makes me feel a little bit less crazy. To be determined. I don't even know where I stand with this yet. It's complicated, you know? Like, I guess that's the best way to say it. So far, it's complicated. That is taking me so long to read that it's not going to get finished this month. But I'm pretty much, that's the only physical book that I'm reading right now. So I'm kind of doing that plus whatever audiobooks I'm working on. So I think I'll get that done in the next couple of weeks. And then, yeah, that's gonna have to have its own video. I cannot wait to go online and just troll all the opinions, all the critique, all the interviews. I'm not doing it now because I don't want to be influenced. Also, I don't want any spoilers. It at least has to be praised for making people think and making people have conversations, because I think that is the power of books. So there's something to it. Not sure if I like it or not yet, but there's something to it. The last thing that I'm working on this month is I'm listening to God of the Woods, which is not one that I was interested in it the first time I read the synopsis, and then I just kind of lost interest in it. But it's another one where it's like, it's so hyped that I just wanted to see if it was worth it. I'm about a third of the way done. So far, I don't get it, and it's just meh. But nothing has happened so far, which drives me nuts. I hate when things are like all in the second half of the book. I hate it so much. I mean, I think it's about to start to pick up. Something happened in the last couple minutes when I was listening that makes me think maybe things will start to pick up now. But yeah, so far it's just rich white people being out in the woods, thinking they're baddies, doing camp stuff. That's all that's happening so far. So also to be determined on that one, but I think Gabby's reading this in December, so that will be great to compare with. I do like the writing style. It's very easy to follow. It's very casual, which is kind of my favorite, because I can listen to that no matter what mood I'm in. Some books, like the style that it's written in, can make it hard for me, and I have to be in a very specific, highly focused mindset to dive into them, but this is one that's easy for me to just put on at any time. I don't love the narration, but that's not necessarily specific to the narrator, who I should give you her name. Let me please hold. Okay, well, since I forgot to tell you, the author is Liz Moore, and it's narrated by Saskia Marleveld. I'm probably not saying that right, but I like her narration when she's just talking as the female characters. It drives me nuts listening to people try to do voices of the opposite gender. It just sounds bad. It sounds corny. It takes me out of the moment so hard. There are a few narrators who have actually been good at it because they were just more subtle about it. They didn't put on a full-on voice. They just kind of lowered their voice a little bit to the male characters, or vice versa. This lady she's doing her best. She's trying to just impersonate these really gruff, grisly sounding guys, and it's not working for me at all. It's kind of a lot to look past for me because that's just one of my things. But I'm gonna finish it. It's not a super long book. I gotta know what the deal is because Gabby said it was one of Obama's favorite books of the summer, and I just trust him enough that it has to go somewhere. There has to be something about it. But I don't know. So far, I really don't understand. But that just makes me kind of want to finish it more because I'm either going to be talking a lot of smack about this, or I'm just going to be mad about the pacing at the end, and it'll be a good book overall. We shall see. But that's what I'm working on. So I've got God of the Woods and A Little Life right now. And I did my December hopefuls video already, but I did just book tickets to go see some friends in New York, and I used it as an excuse to buy other books that would specifically be good and easy and entertaining to read on the plane and on the subway and in the car. So I ordered The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn, which I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, but the person that I did hear talk about it, which as always, I don't remember who it was, I'm so sorry, was raving. And it's a longer thriller. It's a little over 400 pages. I think it's already a movie, which I will watch afterwards. I'm going to read you what's on the back of the book. Anna Fox lives alone, a recluse in her New York City home, unable to venture outside. She spends her days drinking wine, maybe too much, watching old movies, recalling happier times, and spying on her neighbors. Then the Russells move into the house across the way. A father, a mother, their teenage son. The perfect family. But when Anna, gazing out her window one night, sees something she shouldn't, her world begins to crumble, and its shocking secrets are laid bare. What is real? What is imagined? Who is in danger? Who is in control? In this diabolically gripping thriller, no one and nothing is what it seems. She's just straight up spying on these people, trying to figure out what's happening from her window. I don't know, that just sounds really cool to me. That just sounds like it'd make a really, really good thriller. I think it's just gonna have the creepiest, eerie vibes because you're just gonna be like full-on voyeur mode the whole time, which is already creepy. I'm very excited for this one. I'm gonna read this on the plane. I think I'll probably get it done during the trip, even though it's a short trip, because I love thrillers. And I honestly didn't plan out audiobooks that much for the month of December, I don't believe. Oh, Kitchen Confidential is one I'm going to listen to, but that will go really fast for me, I know. So that leads me to my closing point, which is not a book, but a rant. I don't know if any of you guys use Everand. I have been swearing by Everand since I got into reading because there were so many good audiobooks on there. It's a subscription. There's an app and a website, and they have ebooks and audiobooks. They also have podcasts and magazines and stuff, but mostly audiobooks and ebooks. And there are big titles on there, and you pay like $11, $12 a month, and you get to read and listen to as many of these as you want. You can browse by subgenres, you can browse curated lists, you can bookmark, you can speed you're listening to the audiobooks. It's great. However, they just sold out super, super hard, and I actually canceled my subscription, which is saying a lot. They recently made a big money grab move where you have to unlock titles to be able to read or listen to them. And when they first introduced it, they said it was just for their premium titles, the ones that are like really, 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 really trendy and being raved about. And if you pay like $12 a month, you get to unlock one title per month, and then there's a more expensive one where you get to unlock 3 titles per month. I was like, okay, that's annoying, but no big deal, because I'm not just on here for trendy books. I have a lot bookmarked that don't have to be unlocked, right? Because at first it was just some of them. And then a week later I look and literally everything has to be unlocked. And I'm talking old books that like nobody really talks about anymore, don't even have many ratings on Everand, and you even have to unlock those. So suddenly I'm paying $12 a month to read one book. They basically just turned into Audible. So that's canceled. I'm really disappointed about that because, yeah, it's sad that, like, yes, I want to support authors. They should get the money they deserve. However, like, not everybody has the option to be paying full price for every book they read when that is their main hobby, and I do think that it should be more accessible for people to read. And yeah, there's a library, but do you know how long you have to wait to get your hands on a popular book at the library? It is months, and that was why it was worth it to pay $12 a month for Everand. So Everand sold out. That's really disappointing and frustrating, but I canceled that, and Spotify's audiobook library has been growing so fast. It's unbelievable. There are some books that even with your premium subscription you have to pay online to unlock and listen to, but most of them that is not the case. Even there's really popular books on there that are still very, very trendy, and they're new books that you don't have to pay to unlock. If you are thinking about getting into audiobooks, Everand is now a ripoff, and Spotify's a really good option if you already pay for it, and then Libby is also great. So that is it. That's what I'm going to be working on. I'm happy that I am now enjoying reading A Little Life most of the time. Sometimes she makes it really hard to read that dang book, which is frustrating, but I thought that it was going to just be like the slowest, most painful thing to read ever, and I'm actually enjoying the process. So let me know if you're reading any of these, if you have read any of these, or if you have any suggestions based on how things went for me this month. I hope you're all doing great. I will see you in the next video.